Hi, my internet BFF. I am so excited to be here for What Would Laura Do? We do these every Monday where we get your questions either through Instagram or the podcast or through programs or my backend channels with clients, and we answer them here live on Mondays. Generally, sometimes it gets away from us. And this week's question is so good. I'm just going to read it off right now. It says, if we've only experienced toxic relationships, is there a way to create initial safety to be open to experiencing healthy relationships? It feels like a far leap that almost feels unattainable, which I know isn't true, but is there a way to close the gap? And so if you are new to my channel, I am a trauma-informed relationship specialist. I am for the modern woman. My mission is to really close that gap for the modern woman that wants to soften, but she's built up these hard exterior walls. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people that have been forward facing that kind of love the chaos. I call this the bougie savage side of us. Like, we kind of love the chaos because it's gotten us far in life, career-wise specifically. But when it comes to relationships, it's really hard to turn that off. It's really hard to soften. And it's something that you have to do to call in the man that's going to lead you, the man that's going to rapture you, the man that's going to claim you and protect you. You've heard this stuff, but you don't know how. And you're ready for it. Like, you want to soften, you want to tap into that side of yourself without losing this like hustle mentality that has gotten you so far. Like, how do you balance it? That is my truest mission in this world, is to soften to soften the women with the hard exteriors, the bougie savages, and awaken this. So we take a trauma-informed lens, a lot of somatic practices, a lot of things that come to, getting back in your body and healing the trauma, because that's literally the only way you can heal trauma. It's not something you can think your way out of, and awareness kind of brings that frustration. So we talk about topics like that here, right? On this page, in this podcast, in this series, in my programs, in my coaching. This is what we do. So I'm going to read the question one more time and then we're going to answer it, okay? And if you have any questions at all, you can just message me here. It's either me or my team, depends what time of the day it is, and we'll get back to you. And we like to do these every Monday. And if you're looking to take this a step further and you're looking for higher accountability, I currently have enrollment open for Iconic, which is my 1-to-1 6-month container. I rarely open these because the work that I do with my one-on-one clients is so intimate that I only take a select few a year. So if you're wanting to jump in, just message me. We'll send you the application process. We'll set things in order to see if it's a good fit, if I'm a good fit for you, if you're a good fit for me, and then we can get the ball rolling. You would get access to my entire product suite. You'd get 2 calls a month plus Boxer in between, so you get that full-on support for anyone that is looking to really rebrand the relationship season, right? To really step into this and be claimed. And even if you are in partnership, just rewrite that narrative and heal the trauma that's stored in the body. So the question, I'm going to read it one more time, is, if we've only experienced toxic relationships, is there a way to create initial safety to be open to experiencing healthy relationships? It feels like a far leap that almost feels unattainable, which I know isn't true, but is there a way to close the gap? The reason I wanted to answer this one is because I feel like so many of us can relate to this. Let me know if you relate to this. I know I do. And the reason for this is because it's very rare that we were modeled healthy relationships in our lives. It's very rare that we were influenced or we saw it through our parents, not even just romantic relationships with our parents, but childhood. I didn't have childhood friends that I stayed with through seasons. Familial, our family, our, cousins and nieces and whatever it is, and nephews and aunts and uncles and things like that. The relationships go far beyond just the romantic ones. And we've often experienced this chaotic cycle in our relationships. I know that's what I had. My season of relationships was wildly chaotic. Every single one had cheated on me. It was anger, it was manipulation, there was domestic violence, there was drugs, there was lots of alcohol. There wasn't stable forces, but that's what I thought was normal. Until this one moment when I had dated a good person, and we call this the turning point man, that I realized my behavior was the thing that was causing the chaos. We often get stuck in this phrase that there are no good men, there are no good women, there are no good people in this world. Life sucks, then you die kind of situation. But the reason that is because we're calling in these situations. That's our nervous system pattern. We're addicted to chaos. And actually, if we want something that is safe, what we deem as safe, which is connected, calm, loving, all these kind of things, if you're addicted to chaos, recovering, if you're addicted to chaos, those things that you deem as safe are actually not safe for your nervous system. This whole thing takes time, right? Like, this is actually the foundation of what we do inside of Sacred Singlehood, which is our signature program. When you're looking to recalibrate your nervous system, it's not about the other person. Sometimes we think the right person is going to come into our life and we're holding out for that. And we think, oh, they'll just get me and then I'll be calm. But the real thing is, when we have situations like this where it's like, I've only experienced toxic relationships, the work starts with you. Who are you really? And what do you desire? And it's not so much of what has happened to you in the past. It's like, who are you in this moment, and who are you claiming to be, and who do you want to become? Because it's not about finding the one, it's about becoming the one. It's about, what are your self-soothing practices? What do you do? What do you like? How can you enjoy spending time with yourself? How often do you spend time with yourself? This was a big one. This is why Sacred Singlehood, right? This is when a lot of my clients go on this journey of, they've been through a breakup and now they've been awoken to, holy pickles, I now have all this childhood trauma that I wasn't necessarily, like, I knew, it was like brewing under the surface, but because this breakup rocked me to my knees, or I met this turning point man, and it could have been something, but I'm seeing my patterns getting me in the way. I'm taking radical ownership of this. I'm going to spend some time alone and really look at, what am I calling in? And a good way of looking at this is, look at your past few relationships or the past few dates that you've been on, and what is a pattern that's been repeating? That's what your nervous system deems as safe, right? That is the pattern that's trying to come through and be completed. And there's things that can be underneath that, like unworthiness, fear of rejection, abandonment wounds, things of that. Those are the common things that I see within my clientele, is these wounds. And we get stuck in this, I'm going to prove myself mentality. So they can't break my heart. And if they do break my heart, I'm okay, because I have built myself in this protective thing. I don't actually fully let anyone in. I'm fully in my masculine, and yet I deeply desire this masculine man. And so when I'm going on dates, it's not fully even me. It's this persona that I've built up. Can you relate to that? I know I did. It was like, I'd go on dates and it was like this selling, pitching fest. And I remember one date specifically where I was just talking. He's like, so what are your hobbies? What do you do? And I was just talking about work and fitness, because those are things that are very, very still important to me. It's part of my bougie savage. But he's like, but what do you like? Like, what's a hobby that you enjoy? And I genuinely had no idea, because I never actually spent enough time alone to figure that out. There was no pleasure in my life. There was just proving in my life. There was just this mask and this, I call it the brand identity, that I had built up because I was happy-go-lucky and I was sitting in these spaces. And that's often what you see, right? Is that there's these independent women that are craving intimacy so bad that the way that they're getting that is from people pleasing, right? Like, they're self-abandoning, and the only way to really get that intimacy is, how do I cultivate intimacy with myself? How do I regulate my nervous system? This takes so much time. So much time. I still navigate these things. It is so much better, but I still do. We all do, because especially you do these things when you're single and then you take the time and you understand what you like and you dislike, and then you get into partnership and you're going to redo it again in different ways, because in a deep relationship, in something that is loving and stable, those are often the most triggering for people that have experienced lots of toxic relationships in their life, because again, they're used to people leaving. They're used to people manipulating them. They're used to manipulating. They're used to being left behind or forgotten if they don't make a lot of noise, right? That anxious attachment kind of style, or the ultimate like avoidance, like fuck this, I'm out kind of thing. We play with those in our nervous system. And so when we're looking at these kind of tendencies, it's like, okay, so I am now aware that I've been repeating these cycles in my life. Now what? Now what do I feel like shifting in my nervous system so I can call this in? And that's that steady safety. And how do I carry that with me in every part of my life? And this is where the body work comes in. This is why understanding what part of your nervous system are you in? You're in a room. Can you feel yourself in a room? Can you feel your body? Can you really get present in where you're at instead of in? This is hard for high achieving individuals. I actually just did a podcast with my girlfriend Steph on this, which is that whole conversation was really good. But when you're a high achiever, often we get lost in our brain. We get lost in the chaos because that's where we're actually comfortable. Actually creating safety in our body is a work of art. It takes time. It takes slowness. I know when I first started this, I was like, oh, it's fine. I'm going to go on a Vipassana. I'm going to take 10 days of silence retreat. And God bless one of my friends. She was like, yeah, you're going to go into psychosis if you do that because you've had too much trauma. Like, you have to first learn in small doses. So it was like 5 minutes of meditation, and it was walking instead of running. It was, Pilates instead of HIIT workouts. It was this kind of, it was cooking at home, and it was learning about my food and paying attention to what my nervous system levels are and my blood sugar levels and my metabolism and these kind of things to really start to stabilize. And so if you're in those stages, if you're in this stage of, I've only experienced toxic relationship, is there a way to create initial safety to be open to experiencing healthy relationships? If that is you, one, I highly recommend Sacred Singlehood. This is a perfect place to start out, or reaching out about Iconic, and practicing when you're in this space, even as you're listening to this snippet right here. Where are your feet, right? Can you feel the walls around? Can you notice the room that you're in? Can you feel the presence of where you're at right here, right now? What sounds do you hear beyond my voice? What do you see? What can you touch? What can you smell? What can you taste? Play with the senses to really bring you in, because that's how we get safe in our body, is we start to tap into our sensuality. And oftentimes we think sensuality, oh, I'm talking about sex. No, sensuality is tapping into your senses. This is how you get present. This is how you start to create moments and memories within your life, because you're present. Because how many times have you been doing something and then you forget what you were doing, and then all of a sudden you're there and you're like, what's going on? This is how we lose ourselves, and this is how we stay in that chaotic cycle. So it's really looking at how can you start to spend more time with yourself? How can you start to look at how can I get present in my body? When you're wired for chaos, it's focusing on soothing yourself, self-soothing. This is when we can get caught up in codependency and unhealthy attachment styles and things of that nature, because we're looking to others, we're looking for those outside of ourselves, which is what's causing these toxic relationship patterns. I don't want to sit with my own thoughts, therefore I'm going to reach out to another partner. I'm going to jump straight into another relationship. I'm going to jump straight into work, and I'm going to distract myself because feeling just feels too much and I can't do it. And this is why working with someone in a high caliber and not doing this work alone, especially if it's toxic relationships, in abusive relationships, these are the ones we need outside sources. We need people to come in and help calibrate our nervous system, to walk through from the foundations, and then we can focus on origin. And it's all about creating safety in the body to build resiliency for the future. It is the only way to do this work. Oftentimes with relationship patterns, it's like, shit, I don't want to admit that I'm, addicted to the chaos. I don't want to admit that I'm, these types of men. Fuck, this guy is the same type of guy as the last one. Why the fuck do they keep cheating on me? Why the fuck do I keep falling for these narcissists? Why the fuck do I keep self-abandoning myself inside of relationships to the point that when I look in the mirror, I don't recognize myself. I feel like this is an energy leak, and it's hard for me to show up in my relationship or in my work, because my relationship is taking so much of my energy and I can't show up in my power. And the whole purpose of relationship is to lighten you, to give you so much energy that you can go create art in the world, so you can go co-create with the world. That's the ultimate goal of a healthy relationship, because when it's giving you life, you can go and do what you want. You can travel, you can be alone. You have that independence that turns into interdependence, and it's actually life-giving. It's that creative juice, that feminine energy that comes back alive and turns you on for the world. And that's the indicator light that you are on the right track. When your brain isn't only focused on your relationship, right? When you can focus on your work, when you can focus on your life, not from a disassociated place, but because you're so present in it. And so if you're seeing these toxic cycles, it's like, ooh, shit. Yeah, that's me. That's me. That's your indication light. That's your check engine light to lean in. Where is there a belief system in your body that is afraid of rejection, abandonment, the word no, all those kind of wounds that kind of play up, the childhood traumas that we weren't yet aware of that now we're aware of. And it's not just about awareness. We now have to go do something. That's how trauma works. Awareness just creates that activation in the body. This is why, for me, therapy wasn't enough. That's how I got into this work, because I kept leaving my sessions just so activated. And I had been in therapy for like 10 years, and I just felt the same. Like a little bit better, but like frustrated because I knew better and I wasn't doing better, and I didn't get why until I understood the body, until I understood trauma and triggers and check engine lights and different types of archetypes in the body, and how to really soften to allow someone to lead and to let in true safe relationship, which is what I'm currently in. The safest relationship I have ever been in. Is there work to be done? Of course. Building a conscious relationship takes time. But the only way to do that is with yourself first, is to figure out how to self-soothe, to tap into those core principles in yourself. And if you don't have an idea of how to do that, or you find yourself in this knowledge bubble and you know a whole bunch of stuff but you're not implementing it, reach out. You're not meant to do this stuff alone. I did not do this alone, right? I did. At first, it was like behind closed doors. I have shame, I have guilt, I should know better. I'm in the coaching industry, I should know this shit. I've studied it, I've done the thing. Why am I still like this? Why am I still dating shitty men? Like, what's going on here? Because brain surgeons cannot do surgery on their own brains. You're not meant to do it alone. So if you're feeling the pull for any of that, if you're wondering, how do I actually close the gap on this? How do I close this gap on the toxic relationships? It feels so far out of my reach. It feels like, I hear relationship stuff, but then I look at my life. Now what? I have spaces open for Iconic that are going to rock your freaking socks off. This is the 6-month immersion, high touch, high value transformation. And within this time space, you get me in your corner, with personalized support, which is honestly, for me, the highlight of my work. I love doing these things. I love being in high touch situations with my clients, so that I can give you the personalized support, so we can look at what is currently happening in your nervous system. What do you want to call in? What's the big vision here? What's been cycling through? How can we do this in a way that actually complements the work that you're already doing, and allow this sexy savage of yourself to come through? Because sometimes we think to soften is to give up what we have and what we know and what our current identity is, but it's just expanding what that identity is. That's why I call this Iconic the relationship rebrand. So if that is you and you are ready to put 2 feet in on this for this year, to call in that love, or to revitalize the love you already have, you are not going to want to miss this. Okay? Reach out. I will send you an application. We will see if it's a good fit. We have some applications in, so who knows if this is going to be available when you do that, but do reach out, and I'd be happy to get you in there, because prices will be rising next quarter, which is so fun for us. But if you want to get in now at this rate, this is when you want to reach out. So I love you so much. Share this with someone's heart that it could land on, that can expand them, that could bring awareness, that could start to regulate them to, you're not broken. The nervous system, a lot of people will be like, I'm broken. Maybe I'm too broken to love. Like, that's not fucking true. That is not fucking true, and I want to dismantle that, because the nervous system, it's flexible. You just have to apply the right heat to go in the right direction that you desire to go in. So I'm happy to walk with you on that. I'm happy that you share this with someone. I'm happy that you're here. I would love to know your reflections in the comments, and what's coming up for you. What questions do you have? What are you implementing after listening to this? Like, there's so much knowledge out there. I really want to change the way of doing this, where we're listening to things and then I want you to go implement something. Where in your day can you start to add in being in your body? Where in your day can you go out, get sunlight on your face, feel it on your face? When you're sitting and you're listening to this and you're feeling in the room, let me know what comes up for you. Let's start a conversation. Let's actually implement these tools instead of just listening, so that we can see the change that we desire. Because that is how we change the world, my friends. We change us. And then it's a domino effect around us. So I love you. Happy healing. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.